Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talking Business with me, Danny Pardo. We've got two guests on today's episode. We've got Tayyib and Sam. Now, Tayyib was a former student of mine, and normally I'd like to take credit for all the great things that he's achieved, but I can't do that in this case, and you'll find out why if you have a watch or a listen to this. And we've also got Sam, who can take the credit for it, although knowing how humble and amazing he is, he probably won't. So let's get in there, let's get talking business with Tayyib and Sam. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talking Business with me, Danny Pardo. As you can see, we've got two people here today. We've got Tayyib and Sam. So, Tayyib, hello, how are you doing?
Hiya, I'm good.
Marvellous. And we've got Sam. Sam, hello, how are you doing?
Hi, you okay? It's when it goes full screen, I'm really glad that I pushed that face slider all the way to up to smooth out your appearance that you can do. That's a really necessary bit of kit now, I've noticed.
There you go. AI is earning its money tonight, isn't it? Yeah. So now we know that vanity is important to at least one of us here on this call. Obviously, you know, the initial purpose of this chat was to chat to Tayyib, but then with what's been happening lately with the Perry, and you both seem to be linked up online, which we'll get to. I was going to ask you, Sam, first of all, who is Sam? Who are we chatting to with Sam?
In terms of a potted history of what I do and who I am?
Yeah. I mean, you got about 3 hours, so go for it.
No, this is real quick. Teaching for 20 years. I believe that we work together around sort of at least 10 of those. And for the most part, really have served teaching media and film to a host of different types of learners. And now, over the past 2 years, I've specialised in special educational needs setting, for which it's been a massive change. So going into a school and teaching very specific way, supporting learners with the autism spectrum disorder, as well as social emotional mental health needs. So that's been a really interesting challenge over the course of the last couple of years, and has changed actually my sort of life almost completely from the way that you knew me at Joseph Chamberlain. And obviously, when I was a teacher to Tayyib, in the same way, really, I don't do very much of what I did then. And that's been refreshing, and it's quite nice for a new chapter, I guess.
Yeah, fantastic. So obviously then we're starting to hear the link between you two, teacher and pupil here. So Tayyib, who is Tayyib? Here we go. This should be fun. Everybody buckle up and get your popcorn ready. This might be the only question we actually ask for the whole interview. So who is Tayyib?
What a question. Obviously my name is Tayyib Mahmood, and I am basically a former student of Sam from Joseph Chamberlain Sixth Form College from the year 2013 to 2016, which is quite a long time ago. So essentially I am a filmmaker and obviously a content producer in Birmingham. And essentially all my life I've been passionate about film and wanting to make my way into the film industry. And now that I have, I want to be able to share my experiences of my journey and how I got there.
Awesome. And we're going to get into that today, as well as kind of what you're doing right now, what's coming next, the impact of Sam with regards to that as well. So, Tayyib, when you left our college, then where we both work, so you said, 2016? Yes. So that's 5 years ago. So in those 5 years between them, was there university and then employment, that traditional route? How did it go for you?
Well, yeah, for me, it was quite a traditional route because I wanted to get into film, and what I did was I did some research. Essentially, at first, I didn't want to go to university, but once I got some persuasion from Sam, I researched online for different types of universities that provided courses which I wanted to do, such as film. And the main university which provided that was Birmingham City University. So essentially, I looked around and I found a course called the Film Production Technology, which ain't a Bachelor of Arts. It's a Bachelor of Science degree. So it's learning the science behind lighting, sound, cinematography, and just getting down to nitty-gritty parts of what filmmaking is all about. And in terms of employment, believe it or not, I got my first job just before I graduated, which was No Time to Die. So it was quite hectic, as you can imagine, knowing the fact that I am about to finish university and knowing the fact that I have got my first ever contract placement on a major feature film.
Yeah, because I mean, we hear a lot of doom and gloom with regards to the graduate employment market and things like that. Sam, does that surprise you that somebody like Tayyib went to university, rocked out of university, and was bang straight away working on one of the biggest franchises in the world?
Well, it's interesting because this was actually one of the myths that I was trying to dispel, often with the sort of cohort of learners that we would work with, is that the creative industry is an industry. It's worth about 9 billion to the UK economy. And jobs are, they can be relatively frequent and plentiful if you're good. And so that mode of working, going from contract to contract, and being brave enough to be able to say, actually, I'm not in a salaried profession necessarily per se. And what I do get is this opportunity for 6 months, a year, 3 months engagement with an exciting project that pays well and can be offset towards my sort of other financial commitments, is something which is achievable in the context of those opportunities. Interestingly, of course, we've had some great investment here in the Midlands to make things less London-centric, although I know that, of course, Tayyib was outside of Pinewood Studios, which still fits inside that kind of sort of Leavesden, Chessington sort of area, isn't it, where you have great access to transport links and, of course, an international airport, etc. But I noticed that one of the first things when Tayyib came back to college to feed back to us is actually his sort of, just before he managed to get his paid employment on Ready Player One, he was very much stalking Spielberg in the Jewelry Quarter. On Ready Player One before we got No Time to Die. When did that fit in? That was during your university days, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was back, I think when I first started off in university, that was. Essentially, it's Film Birmingham is a massive help to filmmakers in the region. Only because what they do is that they get opportunities from different producers and directors and looking for marshals or young filmmakers to help around, which a lot of films are looking for. So what happened was, I think Ready Player One and Kingsman 2 were both filming at the time, a few months away from each other, and I guess they were looking for a few marshals. I was one of them, and it was only like a few days, but it just gave me that small little, hope that this is something that I could actually do in life. And I guess once you get that in your CV, it kind of builds up gradually as time goes along. And yeah, I think it's something which really helped me if it wasn't for Film Birmingham to get that first little placement, which is only a few days. And so I think I got kind of lucky, but also at the same time fortunate enough to be able to, make the contacts which I needed to put my foot into the industry.
And you said there, sorry, Sam, you said there, Tayyib, it was only 5 days. Now, it seems like a lot of work to do your college 2 years, university for 3 years, and then only get 5 days work. Is that pretty standard in your industry, that you're going from project to project to project rather than I am a full-time employee, I work 8 till 4 or something like that?
Well, essentially, the way it works is most feature films or high-end TV shows, you would either get a 5 to 6 day week, and people may think that it's finite, but it actually isn't, because most of the contracts that you get, if you are fortunate enough to get one, they normally range between a month or maybe 3 months or maybe even half a year. And that's how No Time to Die was, because the main producer, Barbara Broccoli, she was so adamant to actually get trainees into the scheme and making sure she could actually get as many people as she can to be able to experience the world of filmmaking, or how to be a crew member and how to get your foot into the door. And that's exactly what happened. So it's not usual. It's not usual that you'll get a good 15 to 20 trainees on a major feature film like James Bond and be able to get a salary for the entire shoot. It is unheard of. Yes, you may get 1 or 2 trainees, but we're talking about a good 15, 20 trainees in each department, working towards the final film. And so working 5 to 6 days a week, it may not seem a lot, but you're working at least 10, 11, 12, maybe even 14 hour days. And it's a lot of hard work, but at the same time, it's very rewarding once you see the end product.
And that's so nice to hear that trainees are involved, because trainees are often seen as the cheaper version. Let's get trainees in, let's get youngsters in because they're cheaper. And it's nice to hear that, you know, you were brought in because of your skills rather than anything else. I mean, Sam, how crucial do you think it is to get people like Tayyib in? I don't want to say next generation because you're still only starting up, Tayyib. I'm not dismissing you just yet. You got a few years left. Don't worry. But how important is it, Sam, to keep like the youth flowing through this industry, especially with everything that's happened in the past 18 months? How crucial is it to keep the youth and keep that kind of vibrancy in the industry?
I think for the most part of my job as an educator, and as I always saw it, was to just simply keep on encouraging those opportunities for the hope that something would land. You know, I mean, we spoke about it a lot when I was down at Pinewood, but Tave's first sort of introduction to film as I could help that along, beyond sort of introducing him to the technical skills when he first started, was looking towards the BFI regional recruitment. So I worked with a fantastic company called The Company, very meta, who used to recruit for the Midlands Arts Centre. And they were looking in many ways to just try and find institutions that would work with them, who would just carry on that BFI message of looking to promote these opportunities for young people. Now, interestingly, of course, what this did is the learners that I could refer to them had the opportunity to do a regional masterclass at the MAC. So that very intensive whole week of training where you'd meet not just the kids that you may have been to college with, but all these other kids from all sorts of different backgrounds from all around the city, which really showed you on a sort of quite small level initially, the type of landscape where your competition was. And so that then Tayyib grew into that opportunity when he did really well with that. So came back showing us his involvement in a documentary and animation that weekend, and over the course of that half term, then opened the door to the national masterclass, which was on the BFI South Bank, for which actually I know that, and Tayyib, you can carry on the story here in terms of how fantastic that was, but I remember the prep for doing that with you, where I hope you're not kind of ashamed to admit it. You said, well, I've not really been out of Birmingham before. I've not really been on a train before. So I remember sitting down and doing a Google Street View of saying, right, so this is, so you're going to get off of Marylebone, and then it's going to be the brown Bakerloo line to the South Bank, and then you're going to look out for London Eye, it's going to be on your right, and you're going to kind of go down this way past the Shrek Adventure and try and find like the National Film Theatre. I mean, that was really exciting. And of course, that residential opportunity where you could then build bonds with fellow filmmakers from across the country, not just in the Midlands, then led on to, well, by the end of that, he was rubbing shoulders with Alex Garland, who we know has directed Ex Machina and Annihilation, and is simply one of the foremost kind of screenwriters of that time. And then you also met Dexter Fletcher, who we know has just produced a little film called Rocket Man now, but then was also a kind of an actor that I always grew up watching and knew that he had a sort of large involvement with Guy Ritchie films and all the things that would have happened in the 90s. So from that sort of quite straightforward beginning, just the opportunities cascaded, didn't they, Tayyib, quite quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, learning how to travel outside of Birmingham was quite daunting at first, because I don't think it was quite common to actually have someone who got an opportunity to, you know, move out of the city and not be able to do that before in their life. And yeah, so I didn't know how to travel by train. I didn't know anything about London. The only thing I knew was how to travel to college and back just about on a bus.
Was this on your own as well? Was this on your own?
On my own.
On your own. How old are you at this point? About 17?
I was 17, 18 years old,
Okay.
in between that. So April 2016,
Okay.
I think was the time when I did the NFTS residential course. But essentially, it's 66 students around the country from Ireland, Scotland, obviously, and the UK. It's all combined to make 6 short films with 11 people in each group, which consists of 2 producers, 2 DOPs, a director, and two editors, and just different types of departments, working with each other, trying to make a film, which will get premiered 2 weeks from the start date at the BFI South Bank in London. So as you can imagine, it's quite daunting at first when you hear about the fact that you're going to have a film which you would have created at one of the most distinguished film schools in the world, and being premiered in one of the biggest cinemas, well, in the country.
Yeah, especially as a
yeah.
couple of weeks before you'd never even left your hometown. And then,
Exactly.
then all of a sudden you're doing that. I mean, that's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
It's insane, because at the BFI residential course, I met a person called Michael Ferron, and he ended up becoming a really good friend of mine. I was still keeping in contact. He worked on, obviously, 1917. He's worked on Star Wars. He's worked on so many films from the same cohort that I was in at the BFI, obviously, regional academy. And what happened was, him and me, we both traveled together to the NFTS during the actual course. And it's quite insane that most of the people that we met at the NFTS in 2016, we still all keep in touch, whether it's on Facebook or through London meetups, or just seeing the projects they're working on. And it's just a nice feeling that everyone is still keeping in contact with the products and projects they're working with.
It goes to show the importance of networking as well, doesn't it? That you keep in touch with these people, and if you can help each other out, then that's fantastic as well. Sam, we're going to circle back to you in a second, but Tayyib, to kind of set up another question or two here, would you mind name dropping and just going through your CV? So we're at the point, so 2017, you've got nothing on your CV. Okay, there's no James Bond movie, there's no BFI, etc., etc. You are clean slate. I'd like to work in film. Now what? And then what's on your CV now? And I know that you don't mind mentioning these things, and I know that you don't have to give away any spoilers, but can you just run through some of the big names? If you're going to do some name dropping and impress people listening and watching to this, what are you going to say?
Well, let's talk right at the beginning, actually. Before 2017, well, before 2016, actually, I did not have a job. I did not have any qualifications except for my GCSEs and A levels.
Mm-hmm.
In the final year of college, I worked at a supermarket for a wage, which is insane to talk about, for less than £35 a day.
Mm-hmm. And how many GCSEs did you have? Was it four, five?
At the time, yes, I think so. I think I had about 3 or 4 GCSEs in my previous school, but eventually I wanted to do filmmaking, and I saw that JC had film and media as a GCSE, as an A level I wanted to do, but I couldn't get onto it unless I did my GCSE retakes. And since I saw that in order to do my GCSE retakes, I needed to do 5 more, I took on film and media as a GCSE, which led me to meet Sam. And that's how my passion for film started being fulfilled. Mm-hmm. So 2013, I did my GCSEs. 2014, I started my A levels in, obviously, computing, business, film, and media. And in 2015/16, I did media, film, and computing. At that moment, I didn't have anything on my CV except for the fact that I made a few music videos or short films with Sam in my A levels. Mm-hmm. And that is probably the most crucial thing, because if it wasn't for those videos that I made, it would not have shown my creative side in order for me to get noticed by the BFI regional academy and then the NFTS. So what happened was I ended up going on the BFI Film Academy. We got the documentary, which is a short film that we made, which was 10 minutes long. At the NFTS, we made a short film called AA503, which is basically a sci-fi dystopian short film, which is premiered at BFI South Bank, which was premiered in front of many producers, directors, which the BFI have many contacts with. Then after that, it started to gradually grow bigger and bigger. So we're talking about Ready Player One with Steven Spielberg. Then we're talking about No Time to Die, directed by Cary Fukunaga, starring Daniel Craig and Rami Malek. And then I ended up working on a few high-end TV shows, such as Last Letter from Your Lover, Pursuit of Love, and then I got my next two feature film contracts, which was The Batman, starring Robert Pattinson, and then I ended up working towards an untitled Disney production, which I can't name right now. And then I started to work on a few other short films here and there, which also include, TV shows, which also include Pennyworth season 2.
Mhm.
And yeah, I guess I got a lot more, productions that I worked in that I can actually imagine, because growing up from the Midlands and being able to work on these productions that you watch on your, VOD or maybe on Netflix, and getting a chance to work on them, it's quite fascinating, especially for
Yeah,
someone. Yeah, it's quite fascinating for someone my age and from the area that I live in. It's not heard of. It really isn't.
Yeah. Sam, I mean, we're both teachers, and we know what's been said about teachers for last forever. I was going to say the last year or two during COVID, but forever. How do you feel, Sam, when you hear stories like that? That little old Tayyib, who we were walking around college today, and Tayyib was going to his old classrooms and sitting in his old seat and go, oh, I remember this seat, I remember this view, and I remember him being in business studies. But for somebody who had a massive influence, because he dropped my subject after a year, which seems to be one of the best decisions you ever made in your life, and I'm flat out happy with that. So thank you for dropping me. I appreciate it. Best rejection I've ever had. But hasn't been many. So Sam, for you, how do you feel when you hear a story like that from one of your students who you thought, this kid's got something here?
Yeah, I think it just allows you to keep the faith, doesn't it, as a teacher, that you're having an impact, because often we don't see the results of those stories. Now, interestingly, if I were to bet on a learner who was going to make it, I think T would have come up there as being, quite high on that list. I remember when I used to get into work quite early, around about 7:30 in the morning, and he was in there before me. So it pretty much the cleaners were cleaning round him as he sat at the circular desk just outside my office, for which then he was editing the cuts of the film he made, Balti Beautiful, or he was adding some aspects to his horror trailer Apollyon, which if you actually look at is, I don't know how many franchises were probably infringed in one trailer, but there were any...
Do we need to get in touch with the Guinness World Records as well then? Should we do that after this, and we'll see what else we can get, accolades we can get it.
But that was really fun. So we would see this, and then I would probably be like kind of really grumpy with the weight of my world on my shoulders, just trying to kind of get together what I was doing that day, going out, telling him off, asking him to keep it down. So it wasn't always like kind of always just me doing a sort of, oh, captain, my captain, Dead Poet Society inspire. A lot of it was just the graft of trying to get work to a deadline, but also getting it to the caliber which we wanted. The great thing about Tayyib was that he would constantly bug me for reshoots, and so you knew something in terms of that quality marker, in terms of that understanding about what he really wanted. It's just not good enough. We've got to go back and do that again. I'm like, well, I've got these reports due, and I've got this. We're coming up to deadline here, and I'm trying to find, and I'm managing other staff, etc. But we did manage to always slip away. For some reason, I was always cast as, what was I? The sage. I think I was probably sort of typecast as, so the old man that's reeled out, the soothsayer of like the prophecy and what will all go wrong. I was often cast as that, sometimes cast as like the detective, but I often lost out that role, I think. I always just had to be old man or older man in this scenario. Because
you sound a bit typecast.
I mean, I have a limited range, so I'm not going to deny that really I was probably playing to type a fair bit. But I mean, that was great to see that sort of infectious enthusiasm for wanting to make something within that world, within kind of T's world that he was occupying in that moment, and it'd give you the backstory. And so when I was a professor of demonology, which now seems such a stretch of the imagination in any narrative, and he cast me that, and then of course I was part of a story where a demon was sort of haunting, chasing after him. was going to wreak his revenge. That was great. What did we do with that one? We cut up some bed sheets. We'd stain them with, the sort of fake blood that the De Palma used in Carrie. You got some fake contact lenses, pop them in your eyes, and no doubt nearly blinded yourself on a number of occasions. I don't know. The safety at times didn't always seem like maybe that risk assessment was robust enough. Now thinking back. But it was really fun, and I said this down to T at Pinewood, that sometimes students go home and say, oh, I've got to make my zombie movie today. But actually, sometimes teachers come home to their family dinner and go, I got to make somebody's zombie movie today. And that's just as meaningful to me when we were 8 o'clock at night with security trying to push us out the door, and we were trying to get one more take. Those moments are quite rare actually in education. Learners don't always want to stay behind and perfect it. Interesting, just because we have a million anecdotes here, but the one that I do really fondly remember was when I first met Tayyib when he came to the college, and he was sort of obsessed by Edgar Wright, and so again, a young dynamic filmmaker, just made Shaun of the Dead, and he put together his very first GCSE production with the learners in our class. And I remember at the time, I think you had a bad foot. I'm sure you had injured your foot. I'm also sure you were wearing a back brace as well, because you had a problem with your back. And I got killed in that one. So I think I was slaughtered over the balcony. I do remember dripping.
What, by a guy wearing the back brace with a bad foot?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is that he obviously walked like a zombie. The infected was not a difficult performance for him, because his general demeanor at that time, just working and trying to film
very natural,
was that he was, very zombie-like. And so, but I do recall that we spilt some of the fake blood that we had on the corn syrup with the food dye in onto the floor, and I was really worried at the extent to which luckily it comes out easier than I thought. But I do recall doing all of those kind of crash zooms and then chases down the corridor, and we couldn't film because we needed this empty college where it was deserted to be able to evoke some mood and atmosphere of a horror film. So we had to sort of bide our time until we could. But even then, that was just great fun. It was, simply having some nice ideas and just looking to run with them and make them in a way which you could sort of start to stamp your identity. And I think for the most part, it's that part of the process that made you stand out for me. Certainly as a learner that I taught, it was that commitment to wanting to be inspired by all of your heroes, the directors which you like to watch, and then also try to build on that knowledge and then start to add a twist here and there, or just become really technically good. So it was a great relief to me that Tayyib actually chose to do a BSc, where he could really have the technical skills required to advance him in the industry. Because I think we can all, and the phrase I always use is dolphins dancing. That's what, that's what I want, darling. I want, we can all talk this kind of flowery, creative talk that doesn't really mean anything. And no offense to screenwriters, but you often kind of get that a little bit there. Whereas actually a technician is often just talking about bringing it in. So it fits, the sort of the technical build that the director wants. And that is a really useful skill. It's a highly developed skill. And so that was, I think, stood you in great stead, that you knew your way around. Well, let's be honest, I think after 1 year at university, when you came back with some of the kit that you had, because we'd sort of met on a number of projects where you'd come in and help me out an awful lot, and of course, cascaded and paid it back to the young learners that I was teaching, that you already had just better toys that you knew how to work far better than the DSLR that we were shooting on in college. Did we even have a DSLR? I think we had 2 DSLRs maybe. I think it was cameras, wasn't it? With just
just the one camera.
With just a fixed focal distance. I don't think you could even do a focus pull on some of the things. When we first started out, I know for sure that was the case, wasn't it? That you couldn't do half the technical stuff to even make a half decent film. But we built on that quite quickly, I think.
And Tayyib, it seems that, work ethic is something that's bandied around a lot, and people say they have it, but it's better to demonstrate it rather than say you've actually got it. And Sam's alluding there, and I remember that as well. I remember seeing Tayyib around college. I remember seeing him after he'd left. I remember college productions, anything that involved something to do with lights or sound or production or anything like that, you were always there. And I remember thinking, I'm sure he left last year. I don't know. I was getting confused with my years. You know, teaching's very busy. Ty, without mentioning any names, obviously, did you feel different to the other students? Because you're obviously in a class with other students. You're seeing what's going on around college, and you're seeing yourself rock up at 7 a.m, and you're seeing yourself go home at 8 o'clock. Are you seeing other students doing that, or are you thinking, I'm the only one doing this? Is that making me special or different in this?
Well, essentially, it comes down to someone who's passionate about what they do. I like film, and I think that's quite transparent to all of my, fellow, colleagues in my classroom. And I think that's something that would never leave me. I'm always going to be passionate about film. I'm never going to stop talking about film, and it's something which I'm going to pursue no matter how long it takes me. Like I always say this. I have this saying that I don't know how I'm going to get there. I don't know when I am going to get there, but I will get there eventually one day. And I'm kind of living that quote, well, at this current time. And I somehow made it, even though it's still like an entry level, I still somehow made it in a way that I can actually be happy knowing the fact that 5-6 years ago, I would never have dreamed of being here. And everyone else in my class, I don't think they thought film and media was going to be a thing that they would be able to pursue as a career. But for me, there was not going to be no other end game other than working in the film industry, because working in any other profession, being a doctor or lawyer or working as an accountant, it just didn't sit well right with me. I just can't sit down and do a 9 to 5. I have to keep moving. I have to get my creative juices flowing. I got to keep on making something which is different and unique. And I guess that's something which was instilled into me ever since I was a kid, watching new films or watching new productions, learning how films were made in featurettes, looking at it behind the scenes, and it just gives you new ideas. Hence why Apollyon, even though that was a full mock sort of video that I made with Sam starring in it, it had so many so many different types of horror films which I took inspiration from, and I added into it only because I thought I can actually replicate it, and I did. For the most part. And I remember not a lot of people in my group wanted to actually, make that video only because they didn't think it would, look good, or it was too, passion focused for me, especially. And I think Sam knows this as well. Whenever I make something, I want to make it the best of, the best of the best. I want to make the quality such that I want to make sure that everyone knows that I put a lot of work into it. And when you watch it back in the media awards, for example, it was quite amazing knowing the fact that we shot it on a DSLR that I borrowed from a friend of mine, and we shot the entire trailer on it, and it looked fantastic on the big screen, which is projected in front of the entire, media and film students at the end of the year, media and film awards. Amazing. And I think it got quite a few scares as well. So I think it worked quite well, especially with sound design and, certain directions for the actors. Yeah. It just worked really well.
That's amazing. Where can we see these videos of Sam running around college? Please tell me they're available somewhere, because everything's on YouTube. So do I have to search for them myself, or what's the deal?
I actually do have the video still on my hard drive, so that can be something which can be uploaded.
Good.
So yeah, if you want.
Let me just kick Sam out the meeting real quick, and we'll do that now. Yeah. Sorry, Sam, you were gonna rebut this thing.
I mean, I think that this is quite nice that he's paying sort of respect whilst I'm here, but I think he's distanced himself a little bit from that work professionally. So this is quite nice going back to some of the his early projects when he was just first starting out. Yeah. However, I don't know whether they make it into his professional show reel anymore. Interestingly, though, that was something that we did really try hard to develop, didn't we? You made a show reel. You cut together. Now, actually, in preparation for university, we did treat it as a business exercise where this is you've got 2.5 minutes to sell yourself. So what's it going to look like? And I think luckily, unlike lots of A-level students, T had a body of work behind him, which could be sort of put together in a way which showed how prolific he was, and whether that was just the sort of the briefs that he did as part of his coursework for me, but also the short experiments, just things he was shooting on the weekends. I remember, again, we reminisced a little bit. We once went down to a print factory just down the road in Highgate, and we did an evening shoot there with the principal, who is very much her idea. But again, that was really good experience, working in a live environment, having to, again, approach other people and sort of generate that vox pop type interview that would build confidence. Just being nice. Now, interestingly, I remember a couple of episodes, because I do listen to your show. And I don't know whether I've met him, because you might have brought him into college, but Simon Rothstein, is it?
Yes, you did meet Simon, yes.
So did he once sort of represent Ric Flair? Am I getting him?
Yes, so he's got he's done a lot of PR work with wrestling, TNA wrestling, and basically anybody who's worked with TNA wrestling has worked with Simon, say, over the past decade or so. So yeah, you are right with Ric Flair. Well, I mean, where are you going with this analogy?
Oh no, I mean, it's just sorry, that's my frame of reference. So I mean, I think that as we're both men of a similar age, my reference to wrestling kind of just goes back to like understanding that as a 14-year-old boy, and that was when Ric Flair was active. But apart from that, my kind of reference to that is that he said on your show that actually a lot of networking is just simply being nice, being a nice person, taking an interest in other people. And I really agree with that sort of forced networking that we often perceive it to be, like you have to go in and sell your snake oil in such a short amount of time and really kind of make those connections and do a hard sell with people, I've never subscribed to. And in fact, actually, I always find the most genuine and lasting relationships in any line of work that you have is where it's those naturally occurring opportunities that you think complement your own interests, or that might be something that somebody else might want to get in on. And they tend to be the ones which actually ethically work and lead to other work, and word of mouth seems to spread. And the I guess those kind of multi-level marketing ploys that you get through Facebook, where someone suddenly wants to be your friend again, and then are trying to sell you some beauty, even more so in my case now, beauty products 5 minutes down the line, really do seem sort of shallow and forced. And I noticed this on set in Pinewood, where T was interacting with, because actually for the shoot that we were on, you had someone at the sound desk, you had someone on sound, sort of boom operator, you had 2 cameramen, a creative, and then a sort of technical director, didn't you? So already we've got like 6 people for a Land Bible National Lottery funded sort of promo shoot that was going to be 1 day filming and edited down to like 4.5 minutes. And you think that, and I know that T, when he was interacting with the crew, I could see was very much taking an interest in their work, promoting and aligning himself with what he did, but in a way which was very genuinely about supporting other people, just trying to do what they all do. And it wasn't about really selling yourself hard to get that next job. It was about seizing an opportunity to just get on somebody's Insta, or to show them your Insta, or to be able to exchange CVs. Now, interestingly, one more story that I do recall, though, maybe some shameless promotion by UT, was when it was probably about 2017, so it's a bit dated now, but you dabbed when you gave a speech at the BFI, didn't you? And so that got you some attention. So
I like the way, Sam, every time you say I've got an anecdote, Tayyib goes like this. I don't know if you spotted that, because you're asking a question, but I've spotted it. Like every time you do, his head goes down a bit like, which one's it going to be? Which one's it going to be? And this time you got the full face palm, so double face palm. So go on, Tayyib. I don't want to interrupt the story that Sam wants to hear. So let's go.
So essentially, what happened was we were at the premiere of our short films at the end of our NFTS residential course, and we have about 400 members of the audience, which include camera, DOPs, directors, producers, creative individuals, and as each film was wrapped up, we individually, one by one, went on stage to get a handshake from the director of the BFI. And I think I made one of the most craziest decisions in my life by doing something which was trending at the time, which was a dab. But
let's see. Could you demonstrate that for us, for those who don't know?
Oh God! So essentially, the dab is Just think of it, since we're living in a current COVID world, is literally when you put your hand or in your face into your elbow and just do that. Essentially, that's all it is. There it is. I had a red beanie on. I had a cardigan. I looked like a 50-year-old man. I felt comfortable. I was in my zone. I thought, 400 people. I got the guts. Let's do it. Dabbed in front of everyone, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, he actually did it!" Because everyone who was making the short films alongside with us knew that I was going to do something crazy, and I had no regrets. And that's exactly what I did. I dabbed, and everyone laughed. And funny enough, straight after we had a little wrap-up party, I actually overheard some people saying that this person, i.e., me, did something so crazy, but it got him noticed, and I became a talk of some people. And some people were like, "Oh wow, he actually did something really crazy and stupid."
You're the dab guy.
He's a dab guy, but he's gonna be remembered now, and that's something which you gotta do. It's something that you've got to put yourself forward, and to be remembered by creative individuals.
Yeah, and well done for taking a chance, because that's what life's all about, isn't it? Yeah, even if it's signified in dabbing on stage. Tayyib, if we can, let's talk about Sam for a second, being so he likes to put you in it. Don't worry, Sam, it's nothing bad. Okay. I'm not even asking a question. Okay, go on, Tayyib, you do your thing.
I was going to say one more thing. Can you just give me 1 second? I just need to quickly grab my charger. Okay. It's in my car. 1 second. Give me a second.
Right, I'm not editing this. This is great. Let's just keep it rolling. It can be authentic.
You can keep it. That's perfectly fine. Where is my charger? It's somewhere here.
I'm telling you, that looks like an airplane, doesn't it? With a curvy wall. I don't know what car he's driving.
You do not want to see the interior of my car. I would not be showing you.
No, you never seen an episode of mine took from the car, from the Ford Focus. We have kids, so,
There we go. That was perfectly fine.
Are you all sorted?
I am basically all sorted. My charger's in. My ignition is on. I'm going to take off. And there we go. Perfect.
Marvellous. Okay. And we're back. Seamless. So, Tayyib, let's talk about Sam for a sec. Let's take Sam out of the equation. Let's pretend Sam doesn't exist in 2013, 2014 when you're making this decision, and you go in with a passion for film, and you don't have somebody like Sam there giving up that extra time, because we're contracted to work 8:45 till 4:15 at the moment. I think it was even less then, of the way the times worked. So let's take Sam out, somebody who's not going to give that time to you, who's too busy doing stuff, because a lot of teachers are, in all fairness. Where does your career go then? Obviously you've got the passion for film, but how much of an impact was Sam? And if you took him out, what happens to you?
That's a good question. It would make my career path a lot more difficult, I would say, only because you have those odd teachers who are very passionate about what they do and what they teach, like yourself and Sam. But when you're in a classroom full of so many students who thought doing film studies would evolve watching films 24/7, which a lot of the film students did believe in, which Sam knows as well. And if I didn't have Sam, teaching the courses that he did, I don't think I would appreciate having someone who would not be as passionate as myself in something that I wanted to do in life. And it's nice to be on the same, level or same brainwave as someone who loves film, someone who loves talking about film or exploring the connotations and the mise en scène or sound or cinematography, lighting, and just learning these different phrases that would actually help create a film. And it's amazing that if it wasn't for Sam, then I guess the BF5 would not have actually come down to JC College in 2015 to pick up some students who want to be able to learn and adapt their filmmaking skills into making a short film. And I think was it the second time round, Sam, that we actually when I actually applied for the BF5 regional course?
Yeah, so it's again, things often sort of are remembered hazy by me, particularly in my old age. But I think my understanding of the BF5 is we always had some great alumni come back, didn't we? So Fahima, who again has gone on to do great things, and at Sky, interestingly, after we visited and sort of went to Leavesden and I know that she was she was an alumni that came back after doing that to talk to you the year after. Is that correct?
Yeah, so she did it in 2014, and I did BFI in October 2015.
Yeah, and before then we had Idris. You see, so I actually can remember like the whole kind of lineage. So we had another learner who came back and he talked to Fahima, and then Fahima talked to Tayyib, and then Tayyib went on to talk to, I think it was Sam, and it was another learner that year who did it again. So I mean, we've always had that, haven't we? That sort of passing it down. The great thing is that knowing the MAC and knowing the BFI as I always did, those who were really serious, and we had just a handful every year who would compete to get on there, would have just the most wonderful time. I mean, Tayyib really made the link between using that as a platform to try and expand it into the residential and then open doors that way. Interestingly, we do have other learners that I taught who managed to work in television production. We've already spoken about Fahima, who I'm sort of broadly in contact with and is doing just, again, wonderful things. And nothing sort of feels better, really, to know that you have some evidence to say there's your impact, that they're working in an industry which they love, and one actually that most of us can be reasonably jealous of, in the sense that at times, I know jobs are jobs and they can all just be a grind, but however, some of the opportunities to see your name, as we will on September 30th, first day of release for No Time to Die, when we see your name on the screen, T, and unfortunately...
Stand up and clap and everything. I'm going to tell everybody in the cinema and everything.
I mean, I don't know how big the posse is that T will be taking with him. I'd like to be invited along, but, you know, we all stand up at this weird point in the credits when nobody else is, like at Broadway Plaza at the Odeon, and just simply start to salute. That blip of a name was it, whoop, up it goes, but there it is, and everyone's cheering and loving it. But that's just really, really fantastic, isn't it? And but all credit to you for making those links. You know, I mean, I know that teachers try their best to inspire, and in some ways, that's the easy part, because you can sell a dream and you can say, wouldn't it just be great? And I think that's all we ever did do, is just say, wouldn't it be great if ... And then you filled the rest of those dots, didn't you? So the hard work really was, you know, down to you. I think that having that feedback of people who are receptive to the idea you've got a chance here is all you're trying to do. Is you're just trying to convince them that this dream could be a reality to a certain extent.
Amazing.
Yeah, no, essentially that's exactly what it is. I don't think that a lot of people would believe that a 17-year-old from Spark Hill would be able to make it in the film industry, which consists of, you know, a middle class white male which is predominantly, which is owned by. But for me, it's a dream which I thought I can always achieve somehow, somewhere. When I don't know how I'll make it, but I'm going to make it. Whether it takes me 10, 20 years. I was right in a way. So I always have set goals, and I feel a bit embarrassed in the way that I always tend to get all these, publicity from working on these films. And even though I worked as a trainee, I don't deserve all the publicity that I should be getting, because there are so many talented individuals, around the UK or even in the Midlands that deserve to be able to, get on these podcasts or get these opportunities with Land Bible and, work with different types of, social media platforms to be able to get their story out there. And, there's like so many friends which I've made over the years on film sets who, deserve to get their story out there as well. And that's why I always felt that it's my duty to be able to give back to the younger generation of filmmakers who want to get into film and show them that if I can do it, so can you. And so coming back to JC and giving talks to for the last 3-4 years, Sam, after I left JC, whether it's doing the London Screen Academy, giving talks there, which I've done in the last few months or so. Be able to go back to the NFTS residential course and act as an alumni, as some of the BFI members have done over the years, and give my experiences of how I got into film. And like today as well, Danny, coming down to JC and be able to talk to students about what I've done and what I've achieved. It's nothing short of miraculous that I somehow did it. but I still got a long way to go. And if it's possible, I'd like to bring along everyone with me who share the same dream and passion that I have for film, and that's the end goal really. Just like today, I got a message from a girl called Phoebe who basically um, who we actually met on the BFI course in terms of being a mentor. And we were put in a WhatsApp group, and I gave her advice via Zoom call of what to do and what not to do, and how to put yourself out there. And next thing you know, during our talk at JC today, she messaged me saying, "I thanks to you, I somehow got onto a film." A feature film at Pioneer Studios on a full-term contract, and she's less younger than 20 years old, and she also, I can't say what production it is, but it's a massive franchise essentially, and she somehow got onto it, and she thanked me for being able to tell her and teach her the things that what she needed to know, and she was really grateful for it, and it kind of warms my heart knowing that I can actually be able to turn someone's life in a direction that they'd be really happy and content.
You're already giving back. Yeah, you're already giving back. This night, Sam, you were saying, be nice, be kind, be honest and genuine to yourself. So Sam was to you, and now you are to others. It's just stunning to see. So, I mean, I'm quite conscious of time as we get towards the end here. I did want to ask you, Ty, because you work in the industry. I've got one little question after this, but as we kind of roll towards the end with about 5 minutes left or so, what's next for your industry? Obviously, COVID has massively affected it. We all know No Time to Die has been pushed back several times. In a year or two, are we going to see your industry normal? I have to use the air quotes. Normal, that we're all going to cinemas again? Or are we seeing changes with on demand, with streaming, with people staying at home even if you use? Is that something that's kind of starting to be spoke about in your industry, or you're just trying to get back to normal? I'm thinking like for the people who want to work in it in the future, the youth that you're inspiring, what have they got to look forward to the next few years, do you think?
Well, listen, it's gonna, at the end of the day, films and TV shows and indie films are going to require crew members, regardless of what world we live in. Whether we are filming in a in a kind of COVID world or a post-COVID world, it's going to require crew members who are willing to work as much as they can, and whatever guidelines we have in terms of health and safety and COVID regulations, we are going to be able to, get back into the industry. And yes, we had a 4-month hiatus for all productions around the world because of COVID, but slowly we adapted and we moved forward, and now all productions are moving back forward again. And I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon, especially for films which are now, contracting, VOD, video on demand, VOD, just like HBO Max, who are currently having contracts with different directors to be able to create films for them, which will go straight into video on demand after a weekly release. And it's a life, and it's a life which is changing and evolving every single week, day, month, or even years to come. So it's not something that you should not be scared of, but something they should embrace essentially. And if you're going to work in the film industry, just don't be scared, because at the end of the day, it's not something that's going to stop anytime soon. Look at Marvel, look at Disney and what they're doing. They currently have a 10-year contract with Pioneer Studios, with creating films for the next 10 years non-stop, and they have access to all the stages. And I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. So yeah.
Thank you. So let me ask one last question, and then Sam, I'll get your kind of round up on this as well. So Ty, very quickly, if you could go back to when you were, say, 17, 18, and give yourself a piece of advice that you wish you'd listened to, or you're glad that you did listen to, because you seem to have kind of get your head sorted pretty early on. What is that advice that you would give yourself that you would carry forward as maybe as a mantra for yourself, or for budding people who want to work in the industry?
Create things. It's so important that you have to create things. No one's gonna care if you somehow got a degree and 15 to 20 GCSEs and you've got all these qualifications. No one's gonna care, but they care a lot about experience as well. Experience ties in what you can do, what you can achieve, and your work ethic. So if someone was gonna tell me at the age of 17 that you're gonna make it into the film industry somehow. But please make short films. I will take that advice gladly. Everyone's got a smartphone on them. Like my phone right now, it shoots up to 8K, which is probably more, more exotic than most film cameras that we have nowadays. And it's a small device in your pocket that anyone can actually use to shoot a film. And just grab a group of friends, make a small script, shoot a film. Zack Snyder, he created a short film on his iPhone, and it can be done. And it's all about, like I said before, getting your creative juices flowing, because you gotta keep on creating. David Sandberg, who basically directed Lights Out as a short film with his wife, a good 4 or 5 years ago on a Blackmagic camera, ended up winning a film festival, and slowly got picked up by film producers to direct a feature film called Lights Out, and now went on to direct Shazam for the DC universe, owned by Warner Brothers, and now is currently directing Shazam 2. And it all can be done only because they, had the passion to create something in the comfort of their own home. And anyone can do it now as well. So just don't be put off about not having £1,000 camera in your pocket. You got a mobile phone, you can rent out some equipment which costs less than £50 a day just to create a small product, so you can show off to your friends and maybe get it shown around to different film festivals and also on video platforms such as YouTube or Vimeo, etc.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your honest advice there. Sam, last word from you here. How excited are you for what Tayyib's done and what's coming next for him? I mean, what are you feeling about all that?
Well, I mean, I think certainly it's quite a nice part of my career to be now clasping onto the coattails of someone who's ascending to greatness. That always works out quite well for me. But I mean, it simply is just the most satisfying thing, really, to know that you played some small part in just simply keeping that enthusiasm going for telling a story, creating something for other people to really enjoy. And I know when I watched back the productions that I'd helped shape by giving some ideas or saying, if you looked at this director or if you listened to it, for the most part, it was always just, I was always amazed at what it came out as part of the process, what T had added to it himself. And so at times it was just very easy to be an audience member, just sat there with your popcorn, just going, okay, let's see another one that you've done. This is brilliant. And that's why I think we really enjoyed that celebration of the Media Awards at the end of the year, because all of those hours, I mean, we used to produce like 25 short films a year, I remember, when we had kind of quite big numbers on that course. And so that used to be a real evening. So the highlights of that kind of working their way out used to get standing ovations and round of applause and everything they were owed, because at least on that night, no matter what happens, if nobody sees it or if just your peers at school see it, that was your story being told to an audience, and getting that feedback is amazing, really. I know we have it in ways in which we have YouTube comments and other sort of forums to give that feedback now. However, this is why my feeling is, going to see a film won't die, because, Godzilla versus Kong isn't the same at home. It really isn't. I mean, whatever sort of spectacle you want to go and see, or that opportunity just to sit in the dark for a couple of hours with strangers, having an experience where, you're all kind of emoting to this one shared thing that's flickering on the screen, is quite unique. And so whilst I seem to pay for more streaming services than I ever have done, and it's a sizable chunk
Tell
now,
me about it.
Kind of my levels are, I'll always still be paying for tickets for the cinema, because I don't think you can almost beat the romanticism of that. No matter how convenient it gets, having that shared experience with people is so important, that social experience. And in some small way, a lot of T's work was already generating that type of buzz when I taught him. And I'm just really glad that now it's being seen by such a wider audience on such a grander scale, really.
Fantastic. And I mean, thank you, gentlemen, both of you, for one, taking the time to chat on this, but also for what you do. I mean, Sam, thanks for what you're doing with young people and the differences you're making. And Tayyib, thanks for what you're doing in terms of helping our mental health and giving us the chance to escape and enjoy and feel. It's absolutely stunning. So thank you both very much. Really do appreciate you taking the time. What I'll do, stay on the line just for a moment and we'll say a proper cheerio. But for now, cheers. Thank you so much. And thanks for talking business, and we'll see you again. And a goodbye. Thank you very much, Tayyib and Sam, for finding the time together so that we could actually do this episode. It's so much fun chatting to two people on these episodes. It's great. So thank you very much. And Tayyib, nice one for all the things that you've been doing and all the things that are coming next. I can't wait to hear about them. And Sam, the impact that you have is just astounding. So nice one to you too. And thank you for everybody watching and listening. You can like, share, rate, review, subscribe, and do all those things. I really appreciate it. You can say hello on the social media channels if you have a look for Pardo's Business. And until next time, I'll just say cheerio.